You're listening to an episode recorded during the time Innovation Fuel was part of University Canada West. We are proud and grateful for the work we've done together, and we want to thank the university for being in our podcast. We are now excited to continue the journey of Innovation Fuel into its next chapter. Thanks for listening.
Hello, everyone. You are listening to Innovation Fuel, the podcast that brings you stories about entrepreneurs, key industry, and community professionals. I am Dave Kiran.
And I am Dilara Farhadian.
Innovation Fuel is a business podcast brought to you by University Canada West. So far, we have explored diverse models, business models, leadership issues, and how entrepreneurs are innovating and adapting to our current environment, COVID-19.
Check out our episodes at www.ucanwest.ca/Innovation Fuel. Well, Dave, I think that we are talking about your interest today, wine.
What? We're talking about wine today?
Drinking in general.
You might not get me off this podcast. We might be here for all day. So are we getting some samples? Are they being delivered?
That is always my question, to be honest with you. I'm using an app to find out what is the best wine when I go to the liquor store to buy wine. And I am not expert in wine at all. And I don't know which wine is better than the others, what I have to look at. Even though when I was in Bordeaux, I had a wine, I was in a wine tour, but I still don't get it, which wine is better and what the differences is.
Wow, what a wasted education. So my colleague here, Caudalys, has done her DBA in France, in the Bordeaux region, and wasted her time away learning instead of drinking. So, well, some advice really quickly. I don't want to keep our guests waiting because our guest is going to have more information than I am. But when I look at these elements, and I've done some wine educational courses. I've done a wine and spirits and educational trust courses years ago, multiple sessions of it when I was in the wine business. But when I talk to people about wine, everybody has their own likes, and you can't be influenced by anybody else. You have to go and try things, test things out, find out what you really like. Do you like a Shiraz? Do you like a Cab? Do you like a Merlot? What's your flavor? What's your element? And then once you find that style of grape you like, then you can go look at different reviewers and see how they're responding to those different spaces. So what's their flavor taste bud like? And they're going to express the reviews around that element. And so when you look at these individuals, look at the different reviewers out there and say, I like what these individuals are saying about this wine. Most likely you're going to like those wines because those are that's what I usually typically do. Look for things that are good and they taste good. We always hear these lines of life is too short to drink bad wine. So why take any chances? But yeah, I hope that helps, Caudalys.
Of course. But, we have to look at the other side as well. How is to bring those different wines for different tastes? And what is the quality of the wine? It's going to be how to create value for wine drinkers or any other liquor drinkers, right? So What is the background of that one is?
Well, something, I think we might have the individual that might be able to help us today. We have with us a good friend among us today to help us with this story with the owner of Caudalys. Is here with us today. And maybe you, Caudalys, can you give us a little bit of information about what Caudalys is and our guest is?
Caudalys, Bruno is an experienced owner with a history of 15 years working in the wine and spirit industry. He's skilled in marketing management, budgeting, food and beverage, market planning, and retail. Overall, Bruno is a strong business development professional who can consult regarding your liquor stores or restaurants to increase the profit margin. Wow. Let's welcome our liquor industry expert, Bruno Gerves.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bruno.
Thank you for the introduction.
Good morning, Bruno. Welcome to our show, Innovation Fuel. Great to have you in our show today. But, before we get going into, our questions and getting to know you a little bit better, can you give us, our audience, a little bit of sense of who you are, a little bit about your background and where you ended up today?
So just to do a short story, born in France, as you might notice with my accent, educated in France. I am a telecommunication engineer. And after quite a few years working in the telecommunication, I was missing to work more with people, with human. So from telecommunication, I moved to education in telecommunication. So, and from there, I continued to push to education. And I then, before I left France, I was director of a big vocational training center with over 4,000 students a year. And then with my wife, the project grew to get out of France. Beautiful country, lovely wine and everything. But there's a lot of issue in France, and we were thinking for our future, professional future, and for the future of our two boys, life might be better in Canada. So we moved to Vancouver. At the same time, having a big job with so big organization, I was working totally crazy, even if everybody thinks nobody works in France, which is big part of the problem of France. Some people work absolutely crazy, and I wanted to get more time with my wife, with my kids. And when I arrived in Vancouver, my big plan was to create my own company, which I did, to be able to open my own liquor store. Until I realized that that's not that easy in British Columbia. I applied to get my license for a liquor store because when you read at that time all the information on the website, it was possible to apply for a license. Until when I went to give all my paperwork, I was told, oh, but don't expect to get an answer quickly because we are not giving away any license for the next 7 years at that time. And since they still not give any license, which means opening my own liquor store was dead. So, okay, I need money. I have two boys. I just moved in a new country. So I started, because that was really the project, to work in the passion field for me, which is the wine, to work in liquor stores. So I find a couple of people which had the paper, the license, and not going to get in all the technicality of that, but people which had license but never opened their liquor stores. I worked for a guy and opened 3 liquor stores. So as director, which is not the same than being your own boss, but that was a way to get in the field.
That is fantastic, Bruno. So would you give me what is the problem of not getting a license easily in BC? What is the restriction?
There is an idea in BC that the more liquor store, the more drunk people, which means the different government, because that's like that since quite some time, decided that the number of retail points to buy alcohol are enough in BC, which means they don't want new liquor stores. There's some, for people living here, might see some new liquor store, but they are always liquor store coming from somewhere else. So they shut somewhere, they open somewhere else. There's plenty of tricky regulation about geography. You can't have liquor store too close to each other, except if it was done before those regulations. So the only way to open a liquor store right now in BC is to buy a license, which gives you the right to retail alcohol. And those licenses, because there's not that many, can worth millions of dollars, even if the store, so 15 years ago, there were some license without physical store. At that time, it was negotiation already started at $700,000-800,000 for a piece of paper, which means it's big money. You can make big money, but it's big money to start. There's the huge issue in BC too. We can come in the problem after, but about the supply, about your main competitor as a private liquor store is the government. And that government is also your only supplier, which means in which world are we living, where you buy your goods which you are going to resell, you buy them from your competitor.
Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned that the only supply for all the liquor stores are government?
Yes, so it's a bit more tricky than that because in alcohol everything is complicated in BC. All imports are coming through the government. All hard alcohol, so all spirits, are coming from the government. The local beers, local ciders, local wine, you can buy them directly to the winery, the brewery, but the price is decided with the government. Everybody, every retailer buy the same price because there's the idea that you can be in Northern BC or in Vancouver, it needs to be the same price everywhere, which means you can be a big store, a really big store, private store. You are not going to get a better wholesale price than the tiny store in Northern BC. And for a lot of the product, they are in government store shelves, which means difficult to apply your own margin as a private store because the same product is going to be in your store and maybe not next door, but not far in a government store. So customers are going to compare the prices.
So how do you compete in this market? How do you compete? Like first, you're going to pay $500,000 for a license, and then you got your competitor distributing your booze to you at probably the same pricing that they sell it in the store.
So I'm going to go even further. Is sometimes the competitors steal your product. There's some product which technically government decide, the production is too small, so we won't be able to put it in our 200 and something stores, or that's a product which is too similar to that one, so they decide not to put it in their store. So those products are going maybe to come still on the BC market, but reserved for the private stores and for the restaurants. But if it's an import, because the government see what the private retailers and restaurants are selling, if that product is selling amazingly well, they decide, we made a mistake, we should have put it on our shelves. And a few times I had some product which and some others were selling really well. So you push the product, you introduce the product to your customer, and then you can't get any more of the product. When you talk to the agent bringing the product in BC, there's pallets and pallets in the warehouse, and you can't get any. And you can't get any because BC has decided to put a hold on all that wholesale product because they want it for their store.
They seems like the BC Liquor Board has taken a note from Jeff Bezos on let's watch the data and see what's selling on Amazon, and we'll take that product.
It is exactly what's happening. It is exactly what's happening. So to answer, Dave, your question, how can we make money? It's all about where your store is. It's all about convenience. So of course, and again, if we go back a bit in the past, there were not that many people working in BC liquor stores on the floor with wine knowledge. So, of course, the private store were able to get some customers because they were hiring people knowing what they were doing or knowing the product they were selling. At the same time, there were not that many liquor stores, for example, with fridges. So private stores had some fridges to sell cold beer and, for example, cold white wine. BC liquor store most of the time were not open late in the evening, so private stores were opening until 11. A lot of BC liquor stores were closed on Sundays, so private liquor stores were open on Sundays. So it was all about convenience and service to the customer. Of course, BC liquor store decided, hey, private retail stores are getting on our market, so more stores are open more public stores are open on the Sunday, are open late, have fridges, and they have hired some people with knowledge. So it's really right now all about where your store is and how convenient your store is. When we get out of BC and in the world, in a lot of countries, you buy your alcohol wine, beer, spirit in the supermarket, which is in BC was not allowed until not long time ago. It's changing slowly, and we can go, why is it so slow to change? But most of the time you see liquor store, private liquor stores on parking lot with a supermarket. So you do your grocery shopping and you cross the parking, or next door you have a liquor store. That's the only way you get customers.
Oh, so you mean that choosing the location, or where the location is really important on your operation side. And so I have a question here. So it's about supply chain. You're telling me that the main supplier is a government. Except that if you want to buy from the local producer. Mm-hmm. So here's it. Can you just buy from BC producer, or can you buy from other provinces as well?
No, BC only. You can buy directly to BC producer, BC brewery, BC wineries. But even if you buy directly, as soon as you send your order for a BC winery, if we take that example, before the winery has the right to deliver you the wine, they have to get for each order, for each PO, approval from the government, which means they sign your PO to a desk at BC something, liquor. So you can imagine technically they are not going to phone to say, yes, you can deliver that liquor store. But there's a process where they have to inform the BC regulation, then that store order that quantity of that product, so they keep statistics, they keep track of exactly what's selling. At the same time, we can go even further, is if a winery decide, that Shiraz, if we take the example of Dave earlier, is amazing this year. We have normally a regular Shiraz. We are going to do a special one vineyard, one lot Shiraz. They are not allowed. They need to get a SKU number. They need to get plenty of information to the BC regulation to get a SKU for that product and being able to sell that product as a specific wine.
But there's a lot of risk in that model too, because the retailer's got to think, and I don't know this, Bruno, but the retailer, I guess, got to think way ahead in advance. They can't do just in time delivery.
No,
because it's going through this process.
And it's even worse than that. That's only the cream for the moment. If it's BC product, so normally it's quite quick. You can get delivery in a few days, maximum a week. Just a bit earlier, I was talking about those products which were, for X reason, not in government liquor store. Those products, international, are of course warehouse in government, even if it's contracted to private, but technically it's government. Those products, you need 2 weeks to get delivery, which means it's extremely tricky because as every retail in any industry, you want to avoid to have empty shelves or empty product, and you have to anticipate 2 weeks, because if the customer comes and buy 2 cases or 1 case which you have in stock, you can order and you are going to get delivery of that product, if it's a product which is not in government store, at the best in 2 weeks, which is crazy. You have a wedding, you organize a big party for Christmas. Oh, I need some booze. I love that wine. I want, 24 bottles because it's not COVID anymore and you can have plenty of people at home. Most of the retailers won't be able to supply you the 2 cases because it's impossible to carry 2, 3, 4 cases of every product you have in your store. So it's all about anticipation. It's all about stock, which, if we come back again to the start, it's a humongous money issue in that business, because you pay your license, few $100,000, it's often even couple millions if the location is a good one. And then again, compared to other retailers, all the product in your store is owned by the store. So if you go in a supermarket, they pay their stock a few weeks later. Most of the time is going to have been sold before they buy it. Mm-hmm. In the alcohol in BC, it's paid at delivery. So you own all the stock in your store.
Wow.
And
wow, wow.
you see the price of the alcohol in BC, which is expensive. Of course, whole price is discounted, 28 something percent. But most of the stores, I will say some corner store, like some small neighborhood liquor store, are going to have $250,000 of inventory, but a lot of stores are going to have $800,000 of inventory, $1 million inventory. And of course the rents and everything else.
So what how you manage the inventory cost?
It's crazy. It's totally so you need to start with big money. And especially because your store is going to be successful if the location is with high foot traffic, so close to a big supermarket, and which means then the rent is going to be expensive.
Wow.
And then you need, of course, to pay your staff.
You've got encroaching other challenges too. Because we now see this other thing with the grocery stores that the European Union is challenging Canada because, hey, how come BC is not allowed international wines into the grocery stores?
That is an amazing idea to start. The way they put it in action was absolutely, sorry, but stupid from the previous government. Because people living in BC complain about the market of the alcohol, they went and did a big survey. They listened everybody, blah, blah, blah. And then they decided, because everybody is asking to have alcohol in supermarket, yes, we are going to do it. Except at that time, we have to go back a bit in history. Before 1986, so Expo Universelle in BC, they were only government stores, which I've never came in BC at that time, but I was told most of the time were shady stores with a counter. You were asking what wine you wanted, so you have to know everything. At that time, there were some business people in Vancouver who said, hey guys, everybody is going to laugh about BC because the wine is crap and the way we sell it is totally crap when we ask the world to come to see us. So at that time, the government, 1984, government decided to allow some people to open some wine-only stores. There are still a few in Vancouver. From there, BC wineries start to grow and to grow and to grow, and they were not that well represented in government stores. So the government from the time decided to allow some BC wine-only stores. So we are starting to talk. We have BC liquor stores, we have wine-only stores, we have now BC wine-only store. Further on the line, we get more and more private liquor stores which sell the three type of product. So the market is starting to be quite with channel different. So forward, when the government decided, hey, we need to answer to our people living in BC, they want alcohol in a supermarket. At that time, the BC wine stores were not doing that great. So the easiest way was to push those license, BC wine only. There were a few licenses with no stores because nobody wanted to open anymore a BC wine store having the right to sell only BC wine. So they pushed those one and they said to the supermarket, hey, you want wine, take those one. And we have then something like 24 L of BC wine in supermarket. Of course, the world is going to complain. How do you think Australia, USA, Europe are going to say, oh, that's fine in BC. Finally, they authorize wine sales in their supermarket, but they're selling only BC wine. That's totally unfair. Of course, they all went and complained, and World Commerce Organization and everything, and they said, hey, guys, you are not playing fair, which is fair to say. And now, of course, the new government of BC had to backtrack and say, okay, we need to get full liquor store in supermarket. But there's a huge but. Don't expect to see liquor in every supermarket, because there is a regulation in BC where you can't open a new store or a new ale in a supermarket when you have a liquor store 3 kilometers around you.
So you cannot open, I just want to understand, you cannot open your grocery store, your supermarket store to selling liquor if there is another liquor stores around you.
Yes, and it's not only a supermarket liquor store, it's any liquor store. You can't open or you can't move a license from a remote area. You buy the license, you say, hey, I want to open a liquor store in that area in, I don't know, Langley, Surrey, Vancouver, or anywhere. If you already have a liquor store in that area, you are not allowed to. And that's only talking about BC regulation. After you have municipality regulation, for example, in Vancouver, if there's a high school, if there's a community center, blah, 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 you might find, which I tried to find and I didn't, there's a couple tiny area in Vancouver where that regulation radius will work. You can open a liquor store, but right there you have, for example, a high school, and then City of Vancouver has a regulation where you can't open a liquor store less than 1 kilometer from a high school. Because, of course, if you have a liquor store, every student is going to go buy booze and they are all going to have an alcohol problem. That's the way people think here.
I can see this in front of my daughter daycare. They're opening a marijuana store. What about those?
They have all the rights.
Oh, okay.
Quick story. First year I moved to Vancouver, to 4 and 6 years old boys, we said, hey, the big celebration of light, fireworks on the beach, let's go there and spend the evening waiting for so as French, you go for the evening on the beach, you bring a picnic and you bring a bottle of wine. Okay, that doesn't work out. Around you, everybody was already smoking weed 15 years ago. Police go around. Weed, they don't care. It's illegal, but they don't care. Oh, you have a bottle of wine. It's not allowed. And they dump the bottle of wine.
Yeah, exactly.
Gallery, that is exactly that. You can open pretty much a weed store anywhere, but liquor, it's too dangerous.
I know. Okay. So what about the delivery? Because I can see in DoorDash, we have delivery of, for example, DoorDash, Skills and Dishes, they have delivery of liquor. So how does it work?
So that is totally new. That didn't exist before COVID.
Yeah.
Because the restaurant industry is, we can say, maybe dying, or some of them are more than dying. Some of them, of course, switch to delivery and accelerate the delivery. But most of the time, restaurants don't make much money on food. Even when you dine in, they are not making money on the food because it's the way they bring you in. So their price are normal, and their margin are extremely compressed, and they are going to make money on everything else being alcohol and drinks in general. So they were lobbying the government to be able to sell their inventory of wine, especially. You have to remember, they buy the wine too, and they buy full price. Mm. They don't have any discount. They didn't have any discount until a few months back. So their inventory was not moving at all because the wine they had, they were not able to sell it to the dining people because at that time it was not allowed. So the government, on a temporary authorization, authorized them to sell online with delivery of food their wine.
So
that might change because for the moment it's only until January, in a couple of weeks.
So how do you play with the price? How do they give them discount? For example, in any kind of holidays, is there any, for example, right now it's a holiday and drinking, or for example, do you have any kind of discount for that one? Boxing Day, Black Friday, anything?
The retail store, they do what they want. they can do the discount they want. They are not allowed to sell under their buying price. So they can't have a lost product. Knowing not all the product, but a lot of product are in government store. So it's tricky. If you look at any other retail, it's not unusual to have a 100% margin on a product which is going to go then on sales, and nobody is buying clothes full price right now. But you can't do those kind of margin in the liquor industry because the government store next door, they have a mathematical, doesn't matter of the product, doesn't matter of the rating of the product, doesn't matter if the product is rare or not. There's a mathematical formula and they apply a 28-something% margin. So you can apply more, but if the product is in both retail chain, customers are going to compare. So it's for this reason you never see big discount in liquor store, because at the start, the margin are never high.
So what is there any expiry date for any kind of liquor that means, because most of the time you get a discount a lot because the expirations, is there anything that apply to those?
Yes. So some wine, of course, we might know that one is aging, or the more age the wine has, the better it is, which doesn't apply to every wine. And it's even applied to only a tiny category of wine, which are not the one you are going to buy every day. Or if you can, invite me, because it's going to be really expensive. So yes, wine needs to move quite fast. The worst in the liquor industry being the beer. They really have, especially microbrewery, they are going to have short lifespan. Mm-hmm. So yes, you apply discount, but the discount in a liquor store, if you get more than 10% in a liquor store, tell me where.
And so this is even more challenges for the retail, because now post-COVID, we've got this COVID coming in. Retailer stores shut down. You can't get access to the liquor because they're shut down, but they can't really go online with their margins, because their margins are probably so slim in order to compete in that market.
Yeah, but one more thing that I read it was especially during the first lockdown, it's the selling of the alcohol was so high. Am I right?
Yeah, the most of the liquor store are doing quite good in those COVID times, because restaurants, bars, and nightclubs and everything were shut down or are quite limited, right? They were shut down, now they are quite limited, which means some people are used to go and party often, and if they can't party in a restaurant or in a nightclub, they are going to party at home. And alcohol, may I remind, is quite addictive, and some people need their booze on a regular basis. So if they can't get it out of the house, they are going to get it in-house, which means they have to buy, and they are buying in liquor stores, which is extremely challenging for the supply chain. Mm-hmm. Wine, not that much, because a bottle of wine in a restaurant or a nightclub is the same than the one which you are going to find in retail. It's extremely challenging, for example, for the beer market, because a lot of the beer is going to be sold in kegs for restaurant, pubs, and everything. And it's totally different, the same product, but totally different to put it in kegs and push it in the chain to go to bars than put it in cans or bottles to go in the retail market. And there's a huge shortage of cans, for example, because if we go wider, the same problem apply to pop drink, for example. They are not in kegs, but they are in other format for the food and beverage industry, and they have trouble to have enough cans. So the brewery are in competition with the pop producer to get their hand on empty can to be able to fill them with their products.
I think we really got this element on the legalities and the government. I think this is a great episode on supply chain challenges. Yeah, Bruno, great information here. We're learning so much about the industry of liquor and the distribution and supply chain here. Is there any last tidbits of information that you want to share with our audience that we haven't covered or we haven't asked you here that you can throw out there to our audience that might help them in trying to get their head wrapped around this?
I will say it's extremely often I am asked, why don't you open a winery? Why don't you become an agent? Why? It's an extremely tricky market in BC, and regulation are changing. In 15 years, there's already so many changes, not always in the good way. I see a lot of people getting in that industry because it's attractive, having your own winery, having your own liquor store. Everybody's dreaming, and there are so many people having big financial issue getting in that market. It's not a fair market at all in BC.
Okay, thank you, Bruno Gerves, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
To all entrepreneurs out there, we have ambitious students here at the ready at UCW, ready to take on some projects. Either come and recruit them for one of our capstone projects, our virtual internship projects. We're here to help. We know there's troubling times out there. We know that you have limited resources. We've got some great minds here that are ready to put some of that minds to work. So reach out to us. If you have a great story and you have something that you want to share with us that we can share in our classes through our case studies or to our audience like Bruno here, please reach out to us at www.youcanwest.ca/innovation-fuel.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Bruno. You've reached the end of another fascinating episode of Innovation Fuel podcast. Join us next week for our surprise guest. Thank you for listening and have a great week.